What, are you police or security?
Police.
Oh, yeah.
Not many security guards carry guns, do they? Under Section 43 of the Terrorism Act, then I am going to stop and search you, given the fact of the position that we find you.
Welcome to the Audit Assessor. Over here, we break down encounters between the public and the police. We examine the law, the conduct, and the context so you know your rights, their responsibilities, and where the line is drawn. Thanks to Polite Camera Action for letting us cover and break down this police audit. Make sure to subscribe to his channel and like his videos. His link is in the description below. Polite Camera Action is filming a warehouse when armed police arrive and immediately reach for Section 43, as if terrorism powers apply to anything involving a camera. No intelligence, no explanation, just escalation. Instead of complying, he stays calm, challenges the grounds, and exposes the misuse. Within minutes, the armed response collapses and officers walk away with nothing. Exactly how this should have ended from the start.
As if terrorism powers apply to anything involving a camera. No intelligence, no explanation, just escalation. Instead of complying, he stays calm, challenges the grounds, and exposes the misuse. Within minutes, the armed response collapses and officers walk away with nothing. Exactly how this should have ended from the start.
How you doing?
Not bad, you?
Yeah, right, not bad.
I think you probably know why we're looking to stop you, don't you?
What, are you police or security?
Police.
Oh, yeah.
Not many security guards carry guns, do they? You're perfectly at liberty to say no, because I expect you know the law quite well. Do you have any ID on you at all?
No, I don't, mate.
Would you like to account for your actions in the area?
Not really, no, just taking photographs, that's it.
Okay. Under Section 43 of the Terrorism Act, then I am going to stop and search you, given the fact of the position that we find you in, the buildings you have been taking pictures of, and the fact you've admitted to taking photos of
Yeah,
those
but this is a public
you
road,
haven't
though.
offered me any reason why. It's Section 43 of the Terrorism Act.
As I just said, I'm taking photographs, mate.
Yeah. What buildings were you taking them off?
I'm not taking them or anything, really. I'm just taking whatever I feel like. I'm totally entitled to take photographs.
You are.
Yeah, so what are you saying
then? Also,
then?
under Section 43 of the Terrorism Act, I'm entitled to stop and search and stop and speak to anybody that I believe may be undertaking reconnaissance, hostile reconnaissance, or anything related to terrorism. And
so
also,
when
hang on, sorry,
okay,
because
go on.
I haven't been impolite and interrupted you.
No, but I just don't like the idea of being searched for no reason when all I'm doing is walking around with a camera.
The leap from someone's taking photos to Section 43 is doing all the heavy lifting here, and it doesn't hold. Officers are called to the scene and immediately reach for terrorism powers, even though photography on its own isn't a trigger. Section 43 exists to search for evidence of terrorism, not to punish curiosity or documentation. Polite Camera Action keeps it grounded. Public road, lawful presence, no restricted site, no concealment. Being reported doesn't create grounds, and a camera doesn't become hostile reconnaissance just because armed officers turn up. Once those basics are laid out, there's nothing left for the power to stand on.
It says I'm allowed to look at them to see what you've been doing. Because if it is a case of what you have been looking at is hostile reconnaissance in relation to terrorism.
Hostile reconnaissance to what?
Because you've been taking pictures of a building that is of a sensitive nature.
Well, that logistics building. I'm doing absolutely no wrong, am I, with walking around with a camera?
You're doing wrong?
Well, so why are you searching me then?
At what point have I said you're doing wrong, though?
So why would you search me?
Right, at what point have I said you're doing wrong?
You haven't, but why would you search me if I'm not doing anything wrong?
I've just told you under the Terrorism Act, Section 43.
Yeah, but then that means you suspect me of being a terrorist.
It's a suspicion, exactly.
What, you think I'm a terrorist?
It's not an accusation, is it?
You suspect I'm a terrorist? Why don't you go and speak to them first,
Okay,
so they can stop me?
Here we go. Let's chuck a controversial one in here. You're telling me you've spoken to them. When's the last time you think somebody lied to me as a police officer?
Probably all the time. I'm not a liar,
There we go. But I don't know that, do I?
I've told you what I'm doing. I'm totally entitled to walk around with a camera and film stuff. You know I am, so I don't know what you're going on about. You don't think I'm a terrorist. You know I'm not a terrorist.
I didn't say I didn't think you're a terrorist.
Well, why are you stopping me on the terrorism?
My suspicion is...
The officer walks himself straight into a corner. He admits Polite Camera Action hasn't done anything wrong, and the follow-up question exposes it instantly. So why are you searching me?
This is where authority starts getting invented on the fly. Asking for his details goes nowhere. So the officer pivots to something bolder, claiming he's at liberty to look through footage, memory, and SD cards. That isn't how it works. Police don't gain browsing rights over someone's digital content just because a detention is happening. There's a reason devices are seized and authorities sought later. Because scrolling through data roadside crosses a clear legal line. Polite Camera Action cuts through the blur they're trying to create. A court may later examine material if it's lawfully seized and relevant. That doesn't mean an officer gets to preview it on demand. Courts don't backfill authority after the fact.
A suspicion is not a statement of fact.
So then you've got to have you've got to have a proper reason for stopping me, other than you just see me walking around. Of what? Because I'm walking around with a camera. Well, you better make sure you got this right, mate, because there's going to be a lot of trouble otherwise.
Okay, so why do we now have to resort to threats?
No, I'm not threatening you, am I? I'm just saying I'm not physical trouble. I'm just talking.
Why do we have to resort to a threat?
Because I'm going to go to a police station. I'm going to make a massive complaint. That's what I'm saying.
Completely engage with you in a polite and courteous manner.
Yeah, but you're
At no point have I been rude.
Yeah, but
are you able to show us some of your footage then of what you've taken?
I don't actually have to, do I? I'm totally entitled to walk around this country with a camera. You all know I am, and it's just you're trying to intimidate me by using terrorism acts and stuff like that.
Not trying to intimidate.
No, it's a normal police tactic. Throw big words around and scare people with big words. I'm sorry, I'm just messing my phone. I'm not getting in.
We have to attend every incident. This has come on to us as a 999 call over a secure site. We have a duty to investigate that and to make sure that.
Well, for a logistics firm, I'm not very happy about. I've got nothing on me, but I'm not happy about being searched just because it's infringement on my liberties, and I've done nothing wrong. So
the officer walks himself straight into a corner. He admits polite camera action hasn't done anything wrong, and the follow-up question exposes it instantly. So why are you searching me? There's no recovery from that. Once an officer concedes there's no offense and no concrete basis, the search loses any legitimate purpose. Trying to patch it with people lie to police all the time only makes it worse. Disbelief isn't grounds for a search. It's an excuse to ignore what someone says. If suspicion survives even when nothing's been done wrong, then honesty becomes meaningless and powers never end. Auditor polite camera doesn't need to argue. The logic collapses on its own. You can't admit innocence and still justify intrusion. That isn't caution. It's undisciplined use of power.
We have to find out now what interactions you've had with security.
Yeah.
If you've gone past into any secure areas.
No,
and exactly
not,
what's happened with the drone, all right?
The terrorists would come around at night or just film it on their dash cam, wouldn't they? Or they would, or they'd go.
It would be.
Do you know what I mean? Though it's like surely
you cannot predict
the
actions of a terrorist.
Yeah, but this is over. That would be covert surveillance. So surely a terrorist would use covert surveillance. They wouldn't stand out here in the broad daylight with a massive camera on a tripod, would they? They'd go and stand at the back and fly the drone. They wouldn't fly it on the middle of the road, would they? I stood there, right in the middle of all the cameras. Hello, mate.
We shouldn't try and predict the acts of a terrorist incident, should we really?
No, I know, but like
you can see it's like got security, it's got barbed wire. Which what would that indicate?
Yeah, but I'm not. But there's no rules being broken on, or laws being broken by flying my drone over that building.
No, we're not talking about laws at the moment. All I'm talking.
Aren't we? I thought no, these guys are talking about searching me under the terrorism.
I'm having a conversation with you.
Okay.
This is where accountability gets twisted into intimidation. When polite camera action says the officer needs to be sure he's acting lawfully, or it will come back on him, that isn't a threat. It's a warning about consequences through proper channels. Recasting, "I'll complain as you're threatening me," is a convenient dodge. It flips scrutiny into misconduct and shields the officer from having to justify anything in the moment. Calling the logistics warehouse a secure site doesn't rescue it either. On-site security exists to control access to private property, not to police the public road outside. Polite camera action isn't entering, interfering, or bypassing anything. He's observing from a lawful distance. Once that line is understood, the argument collapses because nothing he's doing actually crosses it.
But it's a secure building with barbed wire around it, and they've got two secure. I'm never getting in there, am I? It's very secure. So
no,
do you know what I mean?
Would argue that if it's secure, there's things in there that they might not want anybody to see.
Because you're an auditor, aren't you?
I'm not actually. I'm not. Nah, you see, this is the people often confuse the two. An auditor is someone who goes out and looks for problems on the sites, don't know, like site security and stuff like that. I'm actually just a YouTuber that just speeds footage up.
Okay, come back
It's slightly different. I carry this because I get stopped a lot, you know. I do. I speak to them. I've been back to the Royal Mail site, and if they come out, at least I've got the security come and attack me. I'm like them guys.
What's your first name? Sorry.
I'm not a friend, you know, whatever, I suppose.
Look, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, have a nice day, guys. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Polite camera action lands the simplest point they can't answer. Real reconnaissance isn't done openly in daylight with a camera and a drone launched from a public road. Terrorist surveillance is covert by definition. What he's doing is the opposite: visible, documented, and openly explained. By persisting anyway, the officers end up arguing against basic common sense, effectively claiming that transparency itself is suspicious. The arrival of another officer only deepens it. barbed wire, and on-site security are suddenly offered as reasons not to record the building, even though those features protect access to private land, not the public's right to observe it. And when pressed, the officer finally lets the truth slip. We're not talking about laws. That line says everything. If law isn't the basis, then this isn't enforcement. It's preference,